I'd like to welcome y'all back to another episode of Beyond the Fear podcast, a place where y'all come for motivation, inspiration, uplifting, and an overall positive message. Today's message is just simply forgive yourself. It's okay that you don't know what you don't know. It's okay if you don't know how to be a man because you didn't have that example. It's okay if you don't know how to be a good father because if you didn't have that example. It's okay if you don't know how to be a woman or you don't know how to be a good mother if you didn't have those examples. It's okay to admit what you don't know. You know what I'm saying? There's no crime, there's no shame in admitting those things because you didn't have them. And forgive yourself. You know, that's also the message is just forgive yourself for not knowing. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to feel ashamed. You did if you didn't have those examples, if you didn't have those people around, if you didn't have those examples to look up to or to see what it should be, it's okay to forgive yourself and say, hey, I didn't know. But now that I do know that I didn't know, now let me go find those examples. Let me go find those people. Let me go learn. Let me get up under them and, and shadow them and get an understanding of what it's like to be a man, what it's like to be a woman, what it's like to be a good parent, and all of these things, now that you know that you don't have that information, now that you know that you didn't have that type of leadership and you didn't have that type of example, now it's time to get around people who do live like that, who have had those examples, who can tell you, from experience, like, hey, this is what you do, this is what it looks like, and now you can start to build because it's one thing to say, hey, I didn't have those examples, you know, I need to give myself some grace. I need to give myself some leniency about it because I didn't have those examples. But then you go get those examples and you go learn what you need to learn so you can do what you need to do so that way you can play your part and play your role in your family or in your life or in other people's lives or whatever you have going on. That's one thing. But if you now know that, okay, I didn't have it and you still continue to live life the way that you've been doing it, okay, that's something totally different because now that you know that you didn't have all the tools necessary to be who you needed to be or to get to your full potential, but you're all now that you know and you're still not going to get those tools, you're still not going to learn those lessons, you're still not going to get those teachers to help you learn those lessons that you didn't learn when you were a kid, when you were a teenager, when you were a young adult. Well, now it is on you. You can't blame yourself for not knowing what you didn't know or not knowing what you couldn't have learned because there was no one around to teach you. But now that you're of age and now that you open your eyes and you see, hey, there are places in my life where I have, fell short, not because of my own doing, but because I had nobody to show me, I had nobody to teach me, I had nobody to guide me. Now you have to go find those teachers and you need and get that guidance, get those teachings, get to learn those lessons so you can so you can not perform, but so you can live your, what I'm saying, your best life, you can live up to your potential, because there's a lot of potential in you that hasn't been tapped because you don't even know that those are doors that you still need to unlock. You didn't even know that there was doors that you haven't unlocked yet. So you're not living up to your fullest potential. And again, that's not no fault of your own because there was no one to show you, no one to set that example for you, no one to show you, this is what this should look like, or, oh, this is okay. When this happens, this is the best way to handle it. You didn't get to see that. So that's okay. And one of the reasons why I'm bringing this message to you is because I was watching a clip on YouTube, and I really have to start remembering these people's names on these podcasters' names so I can give them their credit. But it was a guy who said, if my lady goes out drinking and just goes out with her friends and she calls me at 3 in the morning drunk, drunk, and I know when I have to be to work at 4, I'm getting up, going to get her, and I think he said her friends, but I'm going to get her at 3 in the morning, and making sure that she gets home, make sure she's home safe, and then I'm going to work. And he said some other things too, but I'm paraphrasing. So let me make sure I say that I'm paraphrasing because he did say some other stuff. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because my first instinct is like, man, that's crazy. And then I had to really think about it. The reason why it sounds crazy to me is because I didn't see that. I didn't see those things growing up. What I saw was my mom finding a way home at 3, 4 in the morning. My mom figuring it out, and so it never crossed my mind that, you know what, no, that's the right thing to do is to go get that. That's your woman. That's, you know what I'm saying? Go help her. You know what I'm saying? She's calling you at 3 in the morning. Yes, you have to be to work at 4, but you know, hey, she made a bad decision, and now she's in a situation where she could be harmed, something could happen to her, all of these things. So yeah, I need to go get her. But because that's all I saw, and it's just me personally, all I saw was not, I saw my mom find a way home. I saw her, just basically just find a way. So now that's all in my head, like find a way. But I know now because I'm seeing better. So now I'm knowing better. So now I have to start doing better. But I had to acknowledge, damn, I don't know how to be a man. I don't know how to protect. I thought I knew how to protect, but I don't know how to protect on deeper levels. Maybe on surface levels I know how to protect, but on deeper levels I don't, because there are times when I want to put my comfort and my convenience, not my comfort, but I want to put my convenience first. And it's like, okay, nah, I really don't know what it means to protect. And I have to, number one, own that, accept that. And number two, I have to give myself enough grace to understand, okay, I didn't know how deep it was because I had never seen it. But now that I've seen it, now I know. And now I have to do better. I can't hide behind, oh, well, I didn't see it, which is true. But now I know that I didn't see it. Now I know that there's deeper things there. So now I know I have to go get with people. I have to go get with men who've been through these things, who've seen these things, who understand these things on the appropriate levels. And now I have to go learn. I have to go train. I have to go figure some things out. I can't stay in the same spot that I was in once I had my breakthrough and once I had my aha moment. You know what I'm saying? Because now if I stay in the same space, doing the same thing and having the same mindset, now the onus is on me. The moment I realized, hey, you know what? It's not my fault. I didn't have an example. Cool. Now I'm putting the onus on me because now I'm telling myself, hey, now you know better. Now you see it. Now you've acknowledged that you know better now. And in this moment. So now you got to go do the work to get to where you need to be. There is no more excuses as to why you aren't doing what you need to do to get to where you need to be. There's an excuse for why you haven't gotten there up to this point. Fine. But now that you've had that breakthrough, and now that you've seen, okay, I'm not where I need to be. And I know I'm not where I need to be because I didn't have examples when I was young. At the times when I should have been learning some of these things, I didn't have anybody to teach me, because maybe I did have people in my life who could have taught me or probably should have taught me, but they didn't know. So they can't teach what they don't know. So cool. There's understanding up to this point. But now that I'm at this point, and now whoever it may be, now that you're at this point, now that we're at this point where we know better, where we at least understand better and know better. Now we have to go do better. Now we need to go get that training. Now we need to go get that understanding. Now we need to go talk to those people that we need to talk to help us get a better understanding so we can do better, because there are no more excuses from this point going forward, because we had that breakthrough, we had that understanding. And so, just sitting around talking to people, it's just like one of those things where sometimes we get stuck in that place because we'll see better, we'll start to understand, but we never want to, number one, admit it. Because I get it. I can understand as someone in their 30s, as a man in their 30s, I can understand how hard it would be for you to admit, I don't know how to be a man. I don't know how to lead. I don't know how to protect. I don't know how to provide. Really, like on a deep level. I don't know, like, if you're with me, can I defend you to the best of my ability? As far as providing, can I provide money? Yes, but can you provide the other things like the emotional and the mental support that they need? And so it's such a, it's so deep, in my opinion. My opinion of being a man has become, over the past year, maybe year and a half, it's deepened so much, because when you talk leadership, when you talk provide and protect, it's so many things that go into that. You know what I'm saying? But the mainstream things that we hear about is, to just make your woman feel safe, to protect her, and then, to provide as far as like money. Those are the main things. So when people think protect and provide, that's what we think, but it's so much deeper than that. And there's so many nuances to the protection, because like I just said, in that example, that's an example of protection, where he's getting up at 3 a.m, knowing he has to be to work at 4 to go get his lady, because she made a decision, and now that decision has put her in a place where now she could be harmed, or something could happen to her because she's not in her right mind at 3 a.m, when who know God, only God knows who's out, at the club or waiting outside the club for that exact situation. So that's another thing about providing. But how many men like myself would have heard him say that and been like, man, she better figure it out. She put herself in that situation. And it's like, damn, we failed the test, but we didn't know. We didn't have the answers. I'm just gonna speak for me. I did not know, and I had to deep it, because I'm so quick to think back to what I know, which is, hey, I've seen plenty. I know plenty of people, because I stopped clubbing a long time ago. I know plenty of my homegirls who just found a way home. I know my mom just found a way home. I talked to my mom about this the other night. We were just having this conversation, and she was like, "You know what? You're right. I just found a way home." Like I said, plenty of my homegirls just found a way home. So it's never even dawned on me that, no, just go get your lady. You know what I'm saying? It's, even though you got to be working an hour, go get her. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have a conversation with her. You don't talk to her. You don't make sure that she understands, hey, we got to make better decisions going forward, but you still go protect her. That's a part of protecting. And so that's one of the things that, now that I know, I have to do better. I have to have real conversations with myself, real conversations with men, about what protection really looks like as a whole. You know what I'm saying? So I have to stop with the surface level thinking of protecting and providing. I have to see what that means as a whole. I have to get it from a 360 perspective. I need to understand it from bottom to top, front to back, and everything in between. And so it's making me realize that, I do have a lot to learn, but I also have to learn how to forgive myself, give myself grace and understanding that, hey, it's not like you had all the answers to the test. It's not like you grew up with somebody who could show you all of these things and you still failed the test. You had nobody. So in some of these places, you're literally going in blind. And I understand that that's why all my relationships didn't work, is because I didn't know how to be in a relationship. I didn't know how to be a boyfriend. I didn't know how to be supportive to a certain level. I didn't know how to be there for people at a certain level. I understand that, certain things at certain points, my empathy and my sympathy levels just kind of stop, and I shut down, and I have to figure all of those things out. But I understand that that's why a lot of my um, relationships didn't work. And I have to give myself grace and give myself enough understanding to say, hey, you gotta go learn, you gotta go figure these things out, because you owe it to yourself, most importantly, but you also owe it to whoever your future partner is first of all to understand what it is to be a man, and then go execute that to the best of your abilities. And so now that I have that understanding, now that responsibility is on me to go and get that learning, to go get that understanding, to get those teachings, learn those lessons, and then start applying it to my life in real time. But, the message for today is really just about it being okay to admit those things. I understand how hard those things are to admit, but at first you have to be able to admit it to yourself. You have to be able to accept it, and you have to be able to forgive yourself and give yourself grace, because those things are just as important as admitting it. Because, when you don't give yourself grace and when you don't forgive yourself, you limit yourself, you box yourself in to that place of feeling sorry for yourself for not knowing something that there was no way you would have known anyway, unless you had somebody to show you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to give yourself some grace and some space to learn, because you're never too old to learn. You're never too old to get those life lessons. You're never too old. It's never too late to turn things around. Even now, as a 30-year-old, now that I realize I don't know truly what it means to be a man and to lead. Okay, now I need to go start reading. I need to start getting some mentors to show me things, so that now that can help me understand where I'm lacking, to help me build on my weaknesses, help me to, you know what I'm saying, see the things that I may not even still right now, I still may not be seeing, because there may be a lot there. I know that there are a lot of things that I can improve on, but because I'm not seeing it, or because I'm seeing it through, my lenses, I need a fresh pair of eyes to put me in scenarios and to take me through things so that I can see where I'm lacking. Case in point, that scenario that I brought up earlier, because like I said, my first thought was, man, 3 a.m. No, but that's where my lack of understanding of protecting, that's where it hurt me, and I can, I can sit here and confidently say it, because I'm giving myself the grace of, okay, you didn't know, but now I have to go do the work, so that way, a couple of months from now, whether I'm in a situation or I hear about a situation, somebody else could be talking about a situation. I'm hoping and I'm praying and I'm confident that my response will be different. My response will be, hey, you suppose, if that's your lady, go help her. If that's your woman, go help her. If that's your partner, go help her. If that's somebody you care about, go help her in that situation. Like, yeah, it's inconvenient. And you have that talk with her and you let her know, like, hey, we can't keep doing this. But yeah, you go help her. And so I want to make sure that I'm taking the steps and doing the things that I need to do. So that way my natural responses are different and it feels natural. Because my natural response at the time was not as crazy, but I want my natural response to be like, yeah, that's right. That's what you're supposed to do. And I understand that it's going to take time and it's going to take work to get to that point. But I do want to get there, because I'm seeing how important that is. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about having these breakthroughs, and also being able to forgive yourself, because once you forgive yourself, now you give yourself room enough room to see possibilities, to think in a positive light, to understand how this can be a blessing to you and how it can be profitable to you. But when you don't forgive yourself, then you're just stuck in such a negative place. Like, how could I not know? How could I not see that? How could I not think that way? And you know what I'm saying? You're just putting yourself in this space where the longer you stay in, it's kind of like quicksand. The more you stay in it, the more you struggle, the more you sink, and the harder it is to get out. So sometimes you just have to be still, forgive yourself, ask for forgiveness, and let it go. And so I think that that's another part of some of these breakthroughs is that you have to forgive yourself for your past and forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know and not responding in ways you should have because you didn't know. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's also a part of it because even if you have that breakthrough, even if you have that epiphany, even if you have that thought of, okay, yeah, realization of, okay, whatever, if you don't forgive yourself for the things that you did or the actions that you took or the things that you didn't do, you get stuck there. You'll get stuck there. And that's where your mind will stay is, I should have did this better. I should have did it this way. I should have did that. And now you're playing the blame game and now that's where you're stuck. You can't get past the every situation where you didn't show better judgment, or every situation where you didn't handle it the way you were supposed to. And now mentally you can't leave that place. That's just where you are because you don't know how to forgive yourself. You don't know how to give yourself enough grace to say, hey, it's okay. You did not know. You did not have the examples. You did not have the answers to the test. You were not ready for the test and you failed the test. That's okay. Because now we know what the test is. Now we know some of the answers to some of the questions on the test. Now we can go get the answers. Now we can go study with people. Now we can go find guidance. We can go find leadership. We can go find mentors to help us to get to where we need to be. Let's go do that. You know what I'm saying? But a part of doing that is forgiving yourself and understanding that you didn't know. You can't help what you didn't know because you wasn't taught at the end of time when you needed to know those things. That's okay. It happens. But now that you know better, let's go learn better so we can do better. But you have to forgive yourself first. And I think that once you're able to forgive yourself, it frees you from those chains of feeling guilty. It frees you from blaming yourself, or at least blaming yourself so much to where you're just stuck in that space. Because even though I've forgiven myself, it's like I can still look at certain situations and be like, okay, I could have did better. But I don't stop there because I also say, but now that I know better, I'm going to do better. I'm not going to be in that same situation again. I'm not going to put myself in that same situation again. I'm not going to allow my mindset and my actions to stay in this place that it's in right now to even put myself in those situations again. I'm finna do the work that I need to do to get out of these, to get myself out of those situations before they even become situations going forward. But so I understand the importance of giving yourself grace and forgiving yourself so that way you can move forward. I didn't understand that for the longest time. And I put myself through a lot of stuff, a lot of guilt trips, and a lot of unnecessary struggles because I didn't know how to forgive myself. I didn't know how to give myself grace because in my mind, you should know these things. You're a 30-year-old man. You should know this. You should know how to do this. Like, shame on you. And and I held on to that. So when I'm talking to y'all about these things, I'm talking from experience. When I say how it can have a hold on you, like you guilting yourself and you sitting here kicking yourself, once you have those realizations and once you have those epiphanies about life or about things that, you didn't know or whatever the case may be. I stayed in that blaming myself mentality for years, you know what I'm saying? And how everything was my fault and how I was linking everything to me, and and I may have not given enough responsibility to other people because I was taking on the burden of everything being my fault, of finding a way to connect everything back to me. And so as someone who knows how damning and damaging that can be and how you can get stuck in some very bad places and how life can become very stagnant because you're only seeing life through the lenses of blaming yourself. It's important to forgive yourself. It's important to learn grace. Those are things that you really need to learn. You need to learn how to forgive yourself. You need to learn how to accept the forgiveness from yourself. And you got to learn, just to give yourself grace, give yourself time. You know what I'm saying? Understand that, especially if it was something that you didn't know, you got to be able to, you got to understand that it's okay that you didn't know. Like other people may not think so. And you got to be okay with that. You have to understand that there are going to be people who don't think that that's okay because maybe they learned at a young age, and so they only seeing life through their experiences. That's the only way they see life is through their experiences. So there are going to be people who say it's not okay, but it is. It's okay that you didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. So you can't prepare for something when you don't have the tools, when you don't have the knowledge, when you didn't have the study guide to prepare for these tests. And sometimes you just got to go through it. Sometimes life is going to be your study guide. Sometimes something's, unfortunately, some people have to learn the hard way by going through it. Sometimes we got to lose things to get those lessons to know how to keep it going forward. So sometimes you got to take that test with no understanding that it's even a test. You don't even know that you're going through this test. You just know that you, man, like it ain't right. This ain't fair. This ain't this ain't that. And it's just like you had to go through something you weren't prepared for that you didn't see coming. But it's like once you realize what it is, and now you know how to prepare for it. Now you know how to study for it. Now you know who to go to find answers and to get leadership. Now that you know these things, you got to do these things. But it's still important to forgive yourself and to give yourself grace. And I think that that's just the big message, is that it's okay to not know what you don't know. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what you've been through. I don't care what stage of life you're in. Like, it's okay not to know. What's not okay is knowing that you don't know, but still not doing anything and still not growing and still not doing and taking the steps that you need. That's what's not okay. That's when it's not okay. That's when, all right, something ain't computing, because in my mind, if I know I'm lacking somewhere and I realize that I'm like, well, let me not say no. If I'm lacking somewhere and I go through something and that something makes me realize that I'm lacking in that area in my life, and I still choose to do nothing to help fill in that hole, fill in that gap, fill in for, me not knowing or me not learning all those years ago when I should have, if I'm still not doing it, and situations continue to come up in my life where I'm continuing to fail that test because I'm not doing what I need to do, then something's wrong. There's a disconnect there. So I think that is I think that that's why we continue to go through so many similar things, is because we're not learning, we're not doing the things that we need to do, because we can know what the answer is. We can know that the answer is, hey, I need to leave this person alone, or I need to leave this type of person alone. And because we're not doing what we need to do to leave that person alone, or to leave those type of people alone, we continue to go through the same things with that person or with that type of person. And it's like, what about it? Why aren't you getting the lesson? And so it's like, but you gotta forgive yourself, but you gotta learn that lesson. That's the important thing, is getting the lesson, learning what you need to learn from it, so that way you can move on. Forgive yourself, forgive whoever else you need to forgive. And I don't want to throw that word around like it's something easy to do. Like, I'm not gonna throw the word around like it's easy to forgive people for what they've done to you. But you gotta learn how to do it. So I don't want to keep saying it like it's an easy thing. Like, we all have our struggles, and forgiveness is, and the crazy thing is, it's easier for me to forgive others than it is to forgive myself. So I understand that it's not an easy thing to do, to forgive. And I know that I'm probably saying it like it is. So let me give the respect that it deserves. It is not an easy thing always, or for everyone to do. It's easier for me to forgive others than it is to forgive myself, maybe because I haven't had much practice with forgiving myself. And so that's why it's a lot harder for me to do that part of it, and to accept, certain things about myself, but I am learning, and it is worth it because, again, like I say, it gives you so much room to see things. You know what I'm saying? I know, like how they say you can't see the forest through the trees. Well, sometimes when you forgive yourself and you forgive others, it allows you to take yourself out of the forest, like out from in the trees in the middle of the forest to the outside. So now you can see the big picture. Now you can see the forest instead of seeing the trees because you give yourself enough space. So for me, for example, now that I've forgiven myself for not knowing, like I said, now it's showing me all these possibilities of the person that I'm trying to become, the man that I'm trying to become. Is giving me so much. It's giving me a chance to take a step back and see so many places in my life where, hey, I get that guidance. I get those mentors. I start bringing the right people around me. And now I can see where certain places in my life I can easily start to improve and easily start to get better because now I have a better mindset. Now I have better understanding. Now I have a better vision for this. And now I can start to maneuver in different ways, whether that's emotionally, spiritually, physically. You know what I'm saying? I can start to maneuver in different ways and I can start to see like there are people who, where they need to go and where they need to be limited and they don't need to have access in this part of my life. They need a this person who's here need to be here. It's allowing me to take a step back and see the bigger picture. It's allowing me to see the whole forest, now that I've given myself that grace and that forgiveness to say, hey, you don't know what you don't know. But that's it for today's episode, y'all. I just want to, again, just make sure I reinforce, learn to forgive yourself. Once you realize that, hey, you are falling short in the area in your life, you were doing some things that you shouldn't have been doing. Once you start to get that realization, give yourself that grace and give yourself that forgiveness that you need to give yourself space to see things from a better light. That way you're not always looking at life through a lens of wanting to blame yourself for everything. It is okay that you don't know what you don't know. It's not okay to not get the help that you need now that you know what you don't know. But give yourself grace, give yourself forgiveness, and start to learn from those things. But I want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast on whatever platforms you're listening on. I greatly appreciate it. And to everybody watching on YouTube, y'all already know, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I love and appreciate everything that y'all do. And I hope that y'all have a blessed day and a blessed week.